Every single business is looking for that edge, right? That one thing that puts them ahead of the competition. Well, what if I told you the ultimate advantage isn't some complex new strategy, but something that's been hiding in plain sight this whole time? Today, we're getting into the core idea from Patrick Lencioni's The Advantage, and it's all about something he calls organizational health.
Okay, so let's break this down. Most companies, and probably most leaders, are obsessed with being smart. You see it there on the left. It's all about strategy, finance, tech, the usual stuff you learn in business school. But then, look over on the right. A healthy organization? That's a whole different ballgame. We're talking minimal politics, high morale, people actually wanting to stick around. It's less about what you know, and way more about how you work together.
And this brings us right to a huge myth that runs deep in the business world. The idea that being the smartest person in the room, or the smartest company, is the only thing that really counts. We're all conditioned to chase the smartest strategy, the newest tech, the most brilliant people.
But here's the big twist from Lencioni. He argues that the real game changer isn't raw intelligence. He says, and I quote, "The success of a company has everything to do with how healthy they are." I mean, think about that. That idea completely flips the script on how most of us think about success.
So, and this is absolutely crucial, health isn't about replacing intelligence. It's about multiplying it. Look, you can have a company full of geniuses, but if it's a toxic place filled with politics and confusion, all that brain power just goes to waste. It's like having a Ferrari engine in a car with 4 flat tires. A healthy organization, though, it actually lets all that intelligence out of the garage and onto the open road.
So you've got to ask, right? If this organizational health thing is so powerful, why on earth do so many leaders just ignore it?
Well, the book points to 3 big reasons, 3 biases that trip us up. First, there's the sophistication bias. Basically, the ideas behind getting healthy feel too simple, too soft for serious executives. Then you've got the adrenaline bias. So many leaders are just addicted to the daily chaos, to the rush of putting out fires. They don't have time for the deep, important work. And finally, there's the quantification bias. Because you can't easily slap a number on morale or clarity, it gets pushed aside for things you can measure.
But make no mistake, the cost of being unhealthy is very, very real. An organization that's a mess just bleeds money through wasted time, rock-bottom productivity, and constantly having to hire and train new people. It is a quiet but deadly drain on the bottom line.
All right, so we get the problem. How do we actually fix it? This is where Lencioni gives us a really practical framework that he calls the 4 disciplines. Let's take a look.
But first, let's just get a super clear definition of what we're aiming for. Organizational health means an organization is whole, consistent, and complete. The best word for it is integrity. It's when everything, from how you talk to how you work to what you're trying to achieve, is all lined up and in sync. Now, the roadmap to get there is built on these 4 disciplines. They sound simple, but doing them is the hard part. It all starts with building a cohesive leadership team. From there, you create clarity. Then you overcommunicate that clarity. And finally, you reinforce it in everything the company does.
Okay, that's the model on paper, but what does this look like in the real world? How do you actually put these disciplines into practice?
Discipline number 1 is the bedrock. Build a cohesive leadership team. Lencioni is really clear on this. It all starts at the very top. If the leaders can't work together as a functional, trusting team, there is absolutely no way the rest of the company is going to be healthy. This is step 1, and you just can't skip it.
So, once that team is solid, their next job is to create clarity. And this means they have to get completely aligned on the answers to 6 huge questions. We're talking the big stuff, like why are we even here? What are our core values? And maybe most importantly, what is the single most important thing we need to do right now? When the leaders are all singing from the same hymn sheet on these things, it just dissolves so much confusion down the line. Now, the third discipline sounds easy, but it's where so many people fall down. Over-communicate clarity. Get this. Leaders always feel like they're repeating themselves, right? But it turns out employees need to hear a message about 7 times before it really sinks in and they start to trust it. 7. That's a lot more than most leaders think.
And finally, you have to reinforce all that clarity. This is about walking the talk. Your words have to match your systems. You have to weave your purpose and your values into the very fabric of the company, into how you hire people, how you manage them, how you promote them. Your systems have to prove that you're serious about what you say.
So how do you actually make this happen? How do you seize this advantage? Well, this isn't some project you can just delegate to the HR department. It takes real personal commitment.
And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? The success of this whole thing really comes down to one person, the leader. It requires the genuine commitment and the active, day-to-day involvement of the person running the show. It has to come from the top. Period.
And that brings us to the big question, the one we should all be asking ourselves. Take a hard look at your organization, your team. Is it just built to be smart, or is it being intentionally built to be healthy, so that it can finally tap into all that intelligence it already has? The answer to that question, well, that might just be your greatest advantage.